Hello, nerds. Yeah, that's right. We finally hit rock bottom. But that's okay. We can only go up. Anywho, welcome to Technature's Big Boss Rating Extravagant. Wait, no, that's not the title I agreed to. That's not the title. What the fuck? Who put that up there? I didn't agree to any of this shit. Whose ass am I gonna have to kick? Anyways, welcome to me trying new things, I guess. So, I made a Genshin Impact video. I guess it would be about 2 years ago, wouldn't it? I made it around when Genshin Impact started. I made it because somebody wanted to be a psychopath. I've enjoyed the game up to this point. I have my issues. Paimon. Quite frankly, I feel like the game could have some things taken out from it for the better. Paimon. Anywho. I was expecting to have a recording for this done before the update for, I don't remember the name of it, but the fourth continent thing. Fourth big area update. I haven't had a chance to, but that did give me a chance to get some other recordings. So, let's see, I have list of the bosses' names so that I don't get them wrong. Oop, oop. Don't need to do that. So, let's go through them. I fought the bosses again kind of recently and got recordings for them. So, why not? Let's talk about them. So, the first one on the list is the Anemo Hypostasis. If I get these names wrong, I assure you, I guarantee you, it's because I'm doing it on purpose. Anywho. So, the Anemo Hypostasis is pretty piss easy. Like, as far as bosses go, there's not a whole lot to it. I do make some mistakes on this one, mostly just because it's been a while since I played against it. All around, you'd have to be really bad at the game to have a hard time against it. Or you under-leveled. One of the two, really. I do like it as a boss, especially as far as the element cubes go, due to how unique it is. Just the fact that, unlike a lot of different bosses, different cube bosses, in order to prevent it from respawning, you have to fly about in the air and collect stuff. I don't like the fact that successfully doing it means that you still have to fight the boss again, but he has low enough health, especially after you successfully manage it, so that doesn't matter too much. I'm also going to mention right now, because I don't have much else to say on this boss, that this is the group that I usually do things with. Fischl because of eyes, Hu Tao because of the sheer damage, Ayaka because the damage and the defense down with eyes is terrifying, and Jean because somebody has to heal. Anywho, as far as bosses go, I'm gonna say average. Like, I don't look forward to fighting them, but it's okay, as far as bosses go. Next, we're gonna talk about Electric Hypostasis. I'm just gonna delete these as we go through. Electro Hypostasis has... you'll find a running thing with the Hypostasis in that you bring somebody who can just very easily bring elements with them then you generally won't have too much of an issue. Electro Hypostasis is also not all that particularly difficult. I did have a little bit of trouble with them. Also, Aleph class, LOL. Easiest Aleph. Especially because I have Ayaka, although I'm pretty sure anybody that can just use ice whenever is perfect for this. Pretty much it's kind of like the inverse of the air cubes, because while you want to be just out of range of the air cube's attack, you want to be next to this one when it's firing lasers. Yeah, if you have somebody who can just use ice whenever, then this one's not that hard. About minute 15. Pretty much in the same area as its cousin. I want to try to keep them all in the same general group. We're gonna go through... I should have explained this first. We're gonna go through area, and then mini-bosses and story bosses. Not mini-bosses. Bosses and story bosses. And... yeah. Number 3 of 6 would be the Frost Cube, but we're gonna put that one on hold because I'll have other things to say about that. So instead, next up is the Cryo Regisvine. Again, if I'm saying it incorrectly, it's because fuck you. The Cryo Regisvine, as far as bosses go, are, well, just look for yourself. Yeah, that's pretty embarrassing. I've seen random enemies that are harder than this one. So, just as far as it's not even easy in a fun way. It's just not challenging, and I don't like going up against it because it sucks. Frost Cube was added a while into after the game has been out. Now, the Cryo Hypostasis is somewhat annoying because during the entire time you have to deal with the weather itself, but it's not too bad. Like, it's an annoying thing to deal with, but it's not too bad as far as annoying mechanics go. You have enough areas that you're able to actually keep yourself warm, and yeah, his second phase is like all of these generally have a second phase in which they go to it after you beat the first phase, and they go back to their first phase after if you don't beat the second phase quickly enough. The Cryo Hypostasis is pretty unique in that bringing the element with you, like fire for this example, doesn't really help in cracking the second phase. I've demonstrated very easily. I probably forgot about it, but instead you have to smash things into it. These icicle things, ice ball cube spike, ice cube spike things, ice ball spike things. I don't know. So it's very unique as far as that goes. It also goes back into its first form after it's beaten, but it's also stunned long enough that you're probably not going to be fighting it anymore. As far as the cube bosses go, I would say that I do enjoy fighting it. Not as much as certain other bosses in the game, but all around I usually have fun with that one. Next up are the weekly bosses, they're called, because you can fight them once a week and get stuff. So, the first story boss is Terror something? I'm not deleting these. StormTerror. See, I had the name kind of right. Is StormTerror. Now, especially after you've gone against StormTerror more than a couple of times, he's not super hard to deal with. Like, the first couple times I had trouble, but that's just because my people were underleveled and didn't have good equipment and artifacts. That's with a lot of the bosses in this game. Once you get your people strong enough, they can eventually do... These are on maximum difficulty, for the record. And once you get your people up, the bosses are usually not too much of an issue. StormTerror is the first story boss that you have to go into, and he's not super interesting. But as far as bosses go, especially because unless you're going out of your way to fight them as quickly as possible, StormTerror is going to be the first boss that you go against, and he does set the stage really well. Like, he's enough of a challenge that I feel that, you know, he's not just a walk in the park if you don't know what you're doing. But he's not so challenging that he doesn't really deserve the first boss status. Like, it is I have managed to bring his health down to 0 before he damaged any of the platforms. So that is possible. It's very rare that... I think it's happened a total of 1 time out of all the times I fought him. So it's very rare. But it's possible. All around, I feel excellent final boss. First boss. Excellent first boss material. I am gonna put him in the good fight section. Because once you have him down, he's not really all that interesting, but all around good. Next up is Andrius. Andrius, I always look forward to fighting this dog. He's just all-around really fun, interesting. I usually change my group, but I forgot to this time. I don't bring in Ayaka or Jean to this one because Ayaka's main ability doesn't work against Doggo, and Jean's basic abilities don't work against Doggo because he's just immune to ice and wind. It's annoying, but... again, not too big of a deal because all I really need is Fisho, Hu Tao, and a dedicated healer that won't freeze my group. Andrius has a good couple of phases, so the fight stays interesting throughout the entire thing, and he's just all around very fun to test your reflexes with. The second phase, I've gone around to just cutting it down as quickly as possible because I don't like the wolves that randomly pounce at you. But other than that, I have no real complaints about him. He's a fantastic boss that I look forward to fighting every week. So, all around, I am going to put him under really fun to fight. So that's everything in Mondstadt so far. Well, period. Next up, we're gonna do Li Yu, an area that I know I haven't said correctly, and you know what, again, I don't care. So the first one up is going to be the Geo Hypostasis. Geo Hypostasis, I bring Zhongli and Beidou for their ability. I bring Beidou, Zhongli, and Noelle for all of their abilities to destroy the pillars in this fight. Especially Zhongli, which I'll be showing in this video once I actually remember why I bring him along. If I remember correctly, I didn't remember why I brought him along for a while. Well, for a little bit. So the Geo Hypostasis is another, not unfun fight, but not one that I don't like going to, for reasons that are completely unrelated to it. Most of the bosses are in an area that's near a checkpoint that's very convenient, but the closest checkpoint to this one is just far enough across water that if you go straight from the checkpoint to it by swimming, it's possible that you'll just end up drowning and you'll have to get to it all over again. But let me talk about the actual boss fight itself. I do like the idea of the pillars being used to weaken it. As you can see, it's not 100% necessary, but it helps. It helps. If you have Zhongli, the pillars are a joke to get through. I believe I actually screwed this one up because I thought I was done with one of them faster than I thought I was. But Zhongli just makes the boss a joke. Everybody else might be good, might not be for it, but Zhongli makes it a joke. It definitely uses the Earth theme with its fight very well, and the variety of attacks it has helps to keep it interesting. All around, I would say that not bad. Pretty much in the average category. Average is going to be average. Don't know why I brought the videos back up. All around average. Next up is Pyro Regisvine. It's not fire, but Pyro Regisvine. Did I say that right? Pyro Regisvine. I knew it wasn't fire, but I wasn't sure on Regisvine. The Pyro Regisvine suffers from the same problems that the Cryo Regisvine does, which is if you have very specific characters, there's no challenge. Now, you can use characters that don't make them a joke, but that's, since you're gonna be fighting these bosses a lot just to get stuff to make your people better, you want things that can tear through their health as quickly as possible. With my group, I don't kill the Pyro Regisvine as fast as the Cryo, but that's only because Hu Tao isn't nearly as effective, so it's in the same group as its cousin. Which is just not fun at all. Next one is Rhodeia of Loch. Now, a lot of people say that Rhodeia of Loch is like unnecessarily difficult, and I understand where they're coming from. For me, it's not. As long as I target the right enemies, it's not. I don't like the fact that if you drown, you start the fight over. And while that sounds like it makes sense, you have to remember that drowning doesn't kill you. It takes away like 1/10 of your health and you respawn nearby. So it's very annoying. I don't like the frogs, for example, because they explode. They're not the only ones that do. And if I don't run away, you have to run away from them as quickly as possible with very specific characters. Otherwise, you just get hit by it. Nothing you can do. Again, variety of enemies. It's just an enemy rush. And the variety of enemies and the fact that it's randomized each time helps to keep you on your toes. I find her to be hard, but fair. Once you get characters that can actually handle the enemies, then the battle isn't too bad. And I think Ayaka and Mona are the only two that are capable of outrunning the explosion. And again, if you don't start immediately running, you're caught in it. I think I get caught in one in this recording, but I don't remember. All around, I feel that it's not a bad boss. There's definitely bad bosses in the game, and this one isn't one of them. I do enjoy going against her. All around, I find her to be a fun boss to go against. So I'm gonna say good. Good tier. Next up is the Primo Geovishap. I bring along with me for this one Noelle. And Noelle, I've learned to actually level up a bit, to level up her skills a lot. She's not maxed out yet, but she's enough that she's still useful. I found Noelle to be absolutely invaluable in this fight and one of the weekly fights because of how you literally need a shield. And Noelle can just pop one like that. The times when you need a shield doesn't happen so often that Noelle is less useful. Plus, she can heal, but she's more of a tank, more or less. The Primo Geovishap is interesting since the elements that he uses in the fight is random each time. And how he uses them are different, so even if you fight him again and again and again and again, it's a slightly different fight each time. Again, he's another one of those bosses that can be pretty tough, especially if you don't have anybody who can make shields, but he's fair. And honestly, there is literally no reason that you shouldn't have Noelle. You don't even need her to be, like, you don't even need to have her constellations maxed out. There is literally no reason to not have Noelle, so you should just be ready for that fight. All around, I'm gonna put him under good fight. It's like, there are some things about him, like, he forces me to bring very specific characters, but all around, not a bad fight. Chilled, again, probably not saying it correctly. Do not give a fuck. Eat dicks. Chilled is a boss that's a fan favorite. And I agree, he is a fantastic fight. His AI is dumb in the first phase. As I'm demonstrating here, if you just go around him non-stop, he literally cannot hit you. He has an attack that is basically guaranteed to hit you, but he has to hit you at least once before he even bothers using it. So, like, any archer can do this. It all basically boils down to how much time you're willing to put into actually doing this. And you can see, I can be actually kind of close and he still won't hit me. It's bizarre that you can cheese the first form like this. The second form is much less stupid. To put it easily, like, you have to actually start reacting to things, I guess. And yeah, the second phase and the third phase is pretty much where he shines the most. Unless you're actually willing to fight his first phase without cheesing him. It's not too bad, I guess. All around, I would definitely put him under maximum tier. On a side note, I don't know why this decided to mess with the order that I had these in, because they were not in that order before. Anyways, what's the name of the next one? Azhdaha? Azhdaha? I don't know. Azhdaha. I'm gonna call him Azhdaha. You don't mind, right? Azhdaha is another one of those that forces me to bring a very specific character. Because, again, I need to be able to pop a shield. Once I get past that, he's pretty good to fight. He has attacks that you basically can't dodge unless you run away from him. But they don't do too much damage. Or maybe I just have my characters that I want to be able to survive being somewhat tanky. He follows the same thing that his little brother does. I doubt that any of these things that I'm saying have any relations whatsoever. They're just similar. But like his little brother, he uses different elements with each fight. So each week is a different fight if you decide you want to deal with them for that week. Unlike the other one, you can actually see what elements he will use before it starts, so you can prepare yourself for it. All around, he's definitely one of the longer fights, but I've never been bored fighting against him. So can I think of any criticism for him? Like, other than I have to bring up specific character, how dare you? No, I can't really think of anything else. Just, how dare you make me bring a very specific character? So, we're gonna put him under the really fun fights section. All around, a pretty good area for bosses. Next up, we go into Japan. I mean, Inazuma, which I've just deleted. Oh, that's fantastic. Recycling bin. Recycling bin. Okay, fine. Trash bin. No, it's not coming up for that either. That's great! Oh, it is recycle bin. Fucking hell. So yeah, I obviously did not mean to delete that yet. Oh, did it fucking... That's... I clicked the wrong file. Very professional. So... we're back to the cube, to the elemental cubes. First up is the Hydro Hypostasis, which has the same things, has the same kind of issues that the other cubes do, which is you bring the right element that you can use whenever. It's just a joke. Now, that's not too big of a deal with this one, because it's not, it has, I feel it has enough health that it's still a pretty interesting threat. And the creativity in the attacks that this thing has boggles the mind. I can't tell you how amazed I was at seeing waves of cubes coming in to trap me next to it. But like the rest of the cubes, it's really not all that hard. And especially its second phase is a joke if you've got somebody who can use ice whenever, because... well, the things that it uses to revive itself are now frozen. All around, okay, boss. Cubes tend to be that in the same area. But yeah, I'll put this one a tier higher than the rest. Just because it has interesting... because it has interesting stuff. I'll put it a tier higher than most. The Pyro Hypostasis, I bring Barbara with. I only need one healer, so I don't really need Jean. But I bring Barbara with because Pyro Hypostasis has two difficulties. Either you're going to be fighting for a long time against hard-to-dodge attacks, or it's a joke. I don't really care for this running gag that they seem to have for the element cubes. I will say that unlike the other element cubes, it is nice that the second form is like the better one. Better one, I say, knowing full well that I usually just get rid of the first one as quickly as possible with Barbara. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot to say on it. It's just kill fast, and yeah. Honestly, out of all the cubes, I feel like this one's the easiest one. So we're gonna put that one into average. Yeah, average. Ain't Thunder Manifestation. A trend that I didn't really care for seeing is the number of bosses in Inazuma that are just annoying. Thunder Manifestation is pretty much one of the biggest offenders for being annoying, but it's not... As far as challenge goes, it's not too big of a deal. It has two phases. Either you stay away from it as long as possible, and you plink down its health with attacks that don't do all that much, or you get caught in very specific attacks and it gets much more dangerous. And I don't care for that at all. The Thunder Manifestation is not too much of an issue to actually fight against. But holy god, is it annoying. It doesn't help that 90% of the time, it's too far in the air for you to reliably hit with melee characters, so you have to bring an archer. It's like an archer or a mage character, or somebody that can use range attacks in other ways, because otherwise, most of the time, you're not going to hit it. And the sad part is, this is, I don't believe, even the longest fight in the game as far as the non-weekly bosses go. Challenge-wise, as you can see, I've been put into red more than a couple times because of this one. It goes into fair but challenging, but the fight just goes too long for me to feel like the fact that it's fair but challenging is really worth mentioning in any positive aspect. How long does this one go? Most of the recordings that I've had for these bosses are like 2 or 3 minutes. This one's a solid 7, I think. 6.5. Still, 6.5 minutes on a boss that's constantly got you on edge because it disappeared. Where is it? Where is it going to try to strike from next? What attack is it going to use? The only saving grace, I feel, is that its attacks are somewhat telegraphed more than most bosses. But the attacks, even then, the attacks tend to move so fast that if you don't have Mona or Ayaka, you're pretty much just screwed. Along with the fact that while some attacks are actively trying to get to you, it's launching more things to get to you. And once it gets to its second phase, it never goes back, so it just doesn't let up until it dies. All around, I just do not like going up against them because they're just frustrating. The Perpetual Mechanical Array isn't bad as far as the boss fights go, I feel. It took me a couple of times, but I got how it works down otherwise. And I do like its gimmick. So basically it has this whole form, and then after a while it splits into 4 enemies, which are the 4 small mechanical things that you find wandering around Inazuma. Most of them are invincible, and you have to take down one. But thankfully, the game is nice enough to display the health bar over the one that you have to kill. Along with that, none of these are, well, the shield one, but the shield one doesn't do a whole lot in the first place. Other than the shield one, all of these can be stunned, and they can be stunned very easily. You just have to figure out how. And when they do get stunned, they're stunned for a very long time. That pretty much goes with the boss too, because once that thing is down, it's not getting back up. I think I screwed up on this one by not switching to Hu Tao quickly enough for whatever reason. But otherwise, I have no real issues against this boss. Again, it takes a couple of attempts to actually get them down pat. But once you do, it's pretty good fun. So I'll put this one in the good fight section. Okay, the next one on the list is Maguu Kenki. Maguu Kenki is a little bit on the interesting side. There's no bosses in the game like it. And it's just an all-round really cool concept. I do like that it has things that make it so that you can't just attack it from the front or like try to whittle down its defense, and its phases have very minor changes but are still interesting. I like that you have to switch up some of your tactics based on how far into the fight you get. And his clone helps to make it interesting because of that. I don't remember how long it takes. I think this is about when the clone comes in. It can be pretty difficult to actually dodge both of their attacks. But the attacks aren't super punishing, and it just feels really good once you have it figured out. Like, this boss was introduced in the first summer event, and I was very excited to fight it. And it is just all around fantastic. Just really cool aesthetically, and just all around good. So I'm going to give this one top tier billing. All around, love it. The Golden Wolflord is one that took me by surprise. Now, I'm going to point this out right now. The dog enemies that they introduced with Inazuma are, quote, pardon the pun, dog shit. Anytime I see them guarding a treasure chest, it's just, well, I guess I'm never grabbing that in my life, because the dog enemies are such ass to deal with, just from the fact that they poison your entire party. And the people that you're not using can't die, but that doesn't feel very good when we are constantly using characters to heal just to deal with it. And I thought that I would hate the Wolflord, but not only is most of the issues with the King Doggo mitigated by the fact that there's only one of him, but he also manages to keep things relatively fun. I don't like having to bring Albedo. Albedo is not a bad character by any means, but generally you'll notice a pattern where I don't like bringing specific characters. I don't like bringing characters that are out of my main group, because it's kind of annoying to have to get used to a different character for a little while. Even for a little bit. But the Golden Wolflord, I feel, is worth it, just because of how fun it is to go against it. I still don't like the poison to the entire group, even though you're not using them, but unless you are, like, actively trying to get hit, there is, like, no reason to be taking damage very often. So I will say that he goes under the fun to fight category. And with that, we just have the 2 weekly bosses. So for this one, we have Magatsu Mitake Narukame no Raiden Shogun. It's just Raiden Shogun, okay? She's the Raiden Shogun. That's all you need. So, the first time I did a recording for this one, sucked. It sucked really hard. And I was pretty much ready to put her under the holy shit never again tier. But I decided to try her again. And I've tried her a couple more times after that. She's definitely the hardest boss in the game that doesn't feel like pure bullshit. And considering I've gone through most of the bosses, there's only a couple left that could possibly fit that. But don't worry, we'll get to that. Raiden Shogun is definitely very difficult to actually beat. Anywho, very interesting, aesthetically all-around interesting boss. Takes a lot of practice to actually beat without losing anybody, if at all. But once you get her down, she's very fun and enjoyable to go against. However, just the sheer difficulty of it and the fact that she can go into her second phase more than once just because of the sheer amount of health she has is absurd. Anyways, I think that's about enough on this one. So Raiden Shogun, I would put under good fight, but her sheer difficulty moves her down a bit. Now last, and most certainly least, is La Signora. La Signora is, hands down, no contest, the absolute worst boss in the game. You constantly have to deal... She has the most annoying mechanics in the game all rolled up into one boss. You have to constantly deal with freezing to death, or... It's like you have to constantly deal with freezing to death. She has an absurd amount of health. Her attacks are ludicrously difficult to dodge. And if you step anywhere where she's thrown attacks, you're constantly taking damage. Going up against her is a fucking chore. And I cannot in good faith recommend doing it unless you're setting the difficulty down for the day. She is the absolute fucking worst. And the worst part about it... Well, no, not the worst part about it. The second worst part about it is that you have to worry about potentially destroying your heat source. I've already destroyed one in this one, and I'm just focusing on her. 1/4 of the map, well, 1/5 of the map is basically not safe to go to, just because you start freezing to death very fucking quickly. And it wouldn't be so bad if she just died quickly. Like, I'm just trying to... It's taking everything I have just to stay alive against this boss. And the worst part... The absolute worst part isn't that she leaves residue on the ground that damages you. It's not... The worst part isn't that the worst part isn't that you can potentially destroy your heat sources. The worst part isn't even this shitty gimmick here, where you have to collect things that could be in areas that'll damage you. Areas I have to be in now, because, oops, destroyed my heat sources. Guess I'll die. And you can't use Hu Tao to get through it either, because that just takes too much. Which means, and since she's constantly applying fire, you'd think that would be an issue. No, none of those are the worst part. The absolute worst part is that she has a second phase, and you have to go through all of it, all over again. Except this time it's fire. This boss is the worst. The absolute worst. And in the second phase, you can't as easily tell where the areas where, if you stand, you die are. Or take damage. So, literal worst in the game. By far. Fuck her. I made an entire tier just for her. The fuck you tier. Because if my choices are to not level up the skills of certain characters or to fight her, guess which one I'm going to pick. Now we have 2 more bosses that aren't really in any of these particular areas. Like, they are in those areas, but they also have their own areas. So first up are the Coral Defenders. I know the last one I said is the worst boss in the game, but these fuckers take a close second. Like, they were on a roll when they were designing most annoying bosses possible. Like, it has a couple of things that make the fight unique, and I want to like that. I really do. But there's also points where it's just difficult to keep track of both of them, because who knows what's going on with the other one? I mean, I do, because that one's on the wall. That one goes on the wall, you have to destroy the wall, and there is literally no safe time to do this. Your choices are to destroy the wall or wait literal minutes for him to come down, which does not happen. Like, I mean, it does, but it takes literal minutes. I know this because I missed the part in the first time I fought these where it said destroy the wall in order to knock him down, and I'm waiting there constantly, like, when is he gonna come down? And if you think that you just destroy those while you have save time, they come back. No idea why they come back. That they come back. Like, if the butterfly mask wearing bitch didn't already take the fucking crown for worst boss in the game, it would go to these 2. And you can't just kill one either, because once you kill the one, it just goes in the water and starts taking pot shots at you for the rest of the fight. So now you have the other one being an annoying shit while you constantly have to dodge stuff from the other one. It's the worst. And I really want to enjoy how unique the bosses are for twin bosses and all, but they suck. They just suck. Like, it's not challenging in a fair way. You just have to deal with it. But it's frustrating enough that they go into the, oh, a character needs stuff from these? Guess they're never getting upgraded. And thank goodness you don't need anything for them to ascend from any of these bosses. Because, good lord. We still going? Have I really been talking about this shit for an hour? Jeez. Yeah, there's definitely gonna be some heavy editing on this one. Not just cutting out the bits of silence. So we have one last boss. That is the Ruined Serpent. The Ruined Serpent has a couple of annoying things that make it not fun to go against. It has a shit ton of health. There's not a lot of times when you can actually safely attack it. It's in the ruins with the purple slime stuff, which, of course it's going to have. Of course it's going to have. When I first started, as you can see, when I first started, I realized, oh, I don't have this item that's actually mandatory if I want to not hate life. And, like, you can equip it mid-fight. The problem is the fact that the purple stuff, as you know, damages you and drains your item's use. And if you get rid of all of them, then it just spawns more of them. So you have to get rid of all but one of them because it uses an attack that relies on it. And if you can destroy it, then you have... It's weird. The first time you do it, you have a very short amount of time with which to damage it, but the second time, it's stunned for a long time. I don't know why that happens. Usually the fight doesn't go past that, but yeah. I don't like having to bring a very, very specific item with me just to make the fight bearable. And I don't like the fact that you can, like, be pushed around into these things, or that how some of them are so deep into the purple stuff, you can accidentally touch it while trying to get rid of it. I actually make the dumb mistake of getting rid of them too soon here. But yeah. I want to enjoy the boss fight, but there's too many minor annoying things that stack up to make it unfun. Because otherwise it's an interesting, unique boss. Otherwise, I have nothing but enjoyment for it, but you have to constantly manage an item that is never used in any other area. The fact that you have to destroy these bulky crystals only makes it worse. I don't understand what they were thinking with this one. And some of the attacks are literally undodgeable. You have... Basically, anytime it's underground, you have to assume it's using that one. Otherwise, you're going to be caught in it and take way too much damage than you should. It doesn't do too much, but it stacks. All around, this one isn't... I don't like it. It goes into the annoying pile. Amazing that all the ones that aren't in the main areas are in the same tier. Now, at this point, this doesn't include the bosses that were introduced in the new area. I haven't fought them. I haven't fought all of them enough, if at all. But this is my tier list for how fun bosses are. Now, if you want a tier list for ideas that I think should be in the game, let me tell you, at the top A tier, a mini game where you punt Paimon into the ocean.